Hi, my name is Dr. Monique with Pineapple Support, and this webinar is brought to you by Pineapple Support and their sponsors. Remembering and Rebuilding, a guide to grieving and moving forward. Today's objectives will be a welcome, processing the loss, how to manage the ups and downs, redefining purposes, and closing thoughts. As I said earlier, my name is Dr. Monique Martinez Quiros. I go by Dr. Monique in the world of therapy. It's a lot easier for people to pronounce than Martinez Quiros. Today, I'm going to talk about grief and loss and how to move forward from that while redefining your purpose without forgetting whatever it is that you're grieving from. So today we will honor your grief, we'll navigate the emotional challenges, and rebuild purpose and hope. First and foremost, it's important to process the loss. Processing your loss does not mean forgetting. It's about finding ways to keep the memory alive while making space for healing. Many people often function under the false assumption that in order to process their loss, they need to forget the loss. Whether it is a true loss, like the death of someone, the death of a pet, it can be something else that is not formally dying, something, the loss of a job, the loss of a friendship, the loss of a coworker that maybe went on to something else. All of that is grief, and all of that is valid grief. For me, the best way to explain grief to my clients and to you all today is to understand the stages of griefs. There's lots of different models. The most well-known one is a 5-step model by Kubler, and that's not entirely accurate. Contrary to popular belief, you can't get over grief in 5 steps. That would be miraculous. That would be great. But that's not the way it works. And it's definitely not linear. It's more like a roller coaster. And we'll go through that more as we progress in the webinar. Understanding the stages of grief. Grief is a deeply personal experience. And while many people associated with the Kubler-Ross model that I just briefly alluded to, it's important to recognize that grief is not linear. Individuals can experience different emotions at different times, and then they sometimes revisit certain emotions altogether. I always say it came back with a vengeance, or it comes back with a vengeance, or they can skip altogether. For instance, when my brother passed away, I went into kind of autopilot and didn't really grieve until years later. Um, Whereas like my mom felt it, from the moment that the coroner came to pick up his body. And my daughter who found him felt it, you know, within a couple moments after her realizing what had happened. So it comes in a roller coaster fashion. It ebbs and flows. It typically starts with denial, like, damn, did this really happen? Are you sure? Is it the right person? Or whatever the case is. And denial serves as a defense mechanism. It creates a temporary emotional buffer. Just think of like the bumper on a car or the bike rack in front of a bus. It creates that emotional buffer to help you feel less of the hit, less of that shock. It makes it difficult for you to fully accept the reality of that loss. As reality starts to settle in, feelings of anger often emerge, and it could be anger directed at oneself, anger at others, or even the person that has passed away. or the job that just let you go, or the friend that you just let go, or that they let you go. It often stems from frustration, resentment, um, a deep feeling of like unfair, like, fuck, this is really unfair. Why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? And then we start going into that self blaming rabbit hole. Anger, frustration, resentment, sadness, denial, those are all natural parts of the grieving process. Another common experience is bargaining. That's when the what ifs come in. If only this and that. That's the stage that people replay past events. So earlier I spoke of my brother's passing, and he and I, over the years, although he was my older brother, we were very close. He was a functioning alcoholic, and he would do these benders where he would text me a barrage of shit. And 10 days before he died, I remember telling him, I hope you die. So for a long time, I had that survivor's guilt of, fuck, what if I didn't say that? If only I had responded to his barrage of text messages differently. If only I did not respond. I did a lot of that bargaining with myself and with what my higher power belief is. In this stage, people, like I said, replay their past events. For me, in that instance, I replayed, my words over and over again. I had it in a text message, which was no help. And at that time, my text message automatically synced to my computer. So I would revisit it over and over and over and over again, making promises or trying to seek ways to regain control in a situation that felt super uncomfortable for me and where I felt so guilty of. But people do that even if they don't say things like what I said to my brother before he passed. Then there's depression and grief. However, this depression is not the same as clinical depression, but it can bring intense sadness, withdrawal, feelings of hopelessness to you. This stage of depression, of like grief related depression, involves that deep sense of loss, difficulty finding joy in what you once found joyful, or a lack of motivation. It is a supernatural response. It does not mean that you're stuck in that depression. It's just the way the mind processes grief. Over time, many people reach a place of acceptance. Oftentimes, people think that if you accept, you're forgetting or it's being over. You're getting over the loss. But that's not the case. Accepting means that you're allowing for healing. You're accepting all of these emotions. So in my case, I was accepting the guilt, the survivor's guilt, the depression that I felt afterwards, the shock, the anger towards myself, the anger towards his drunk self. I was accepting everything. And it allowed me to form new routines. It allowed me to carry new memories forward or memories forward. I don't know why I keep on saying new. I get really nervous with webinars, so I apologize. And I'm not going to edit this out because if you know me, you know I'm pretty authentic and I want it to reflect in this webinar as well. But essentially, I invite you today to kind of go through these stages of grief with me as we process it together and explore ideas to move forward. For me, honoring the loss is super important when grieving, especially grieving the loss of a pet or a person or a friendship, regardless of whether like the friendship was a loss due to death or a loss due to people just kind of going their separate ways. I always recommend letter writing or journaling, lighting a candle if you're into the woo of things. I'm super into the woo of things. So I light a candle. I include their picture in an altar. I usually have a small cup of water that I refill every month with a new intention for that month. I also encourage people to play their favorite music. So for me, when I'm listening to my very eclectic music mix in my car and I'm jamming out, and the next song is a Paula Abdul song I know damn well I did not put on there, that's when I'm like, oh, my brother's here right now. Um, Creating a memory box or a scrapbook. I'm not too into scrapbooking. I like journaling. I like the woo of things. I like the music. But creating a memory box or a scrapbook is awesome and is something that I have clients do or that clients have done. Also, like a vision board of how they're going to put that memory of that person into their lives. Like, for instance, my brother was a phenomenal social worker with LGBTQIA plus youth, and I do my best to try and follow in those footsteps. Um, so just being able to put together something that reminds you of that person and honors them, honors their spirit when they were at their very best. Planting a tree or starting a garden. And for me, the most important one is creating new rituals, like new experiences, creating new memories. That's where the new memories came from. So creating new things. While they might not be here in their physical form to partake with you, they are here in spirit or whatever you believe. Managing the ups and downs. As I said previously, grief is not linear. It goes up and down in circles, upside down, in and out. So it's unpredictable. But with the right tools, you can navigate the waves and find balance. Some ideas is recognizing emotional waves and normalizing that experience. At the beginning of this webinar, I said that, you have all of these emotions. Sometimes you skip them and experience them later, and sometimes you don't experience them at all. And or you don't experience them at all until later on. So normalizing and accepting that, hey, they're gonna come in waves, and that's okay. You might be super happy, you might be dancing on the dance floor, and a song comes on and you start bawling. And normalizing it and knowing that that's okay. Normalize your experience. Don't compare it to mine. Don't compare it to your neighbors, to your siblings, to your coworkers, to the people that you watch on social media. Your experience is yours, and that is normal for you, and that is okay. Second idea is be mindful. Show yourself self compassion. Reach out to your support network. If you don't have a support network, reach out to us at Pineapple Support. You can call the Seven Cups number. You can reach out to different places online. You can text 988. That's the crisis suicide prevention text line. Or call line. You can call them and just let them know, hey, I'm feeling a lot of feelings right now, and be vulnerable and know that it's okay to be vulnerable. Set a timer for 5 to 15 minutes to feel grief and any emotions that can come with it. For me, this was my ride or die. I've been a therapist for many, many years. And the year that my brother died was in 2018, and it was 13 days after I finished my doctorate program and I graduated from my doctorate. So I still had work the following week. So it was super important for me to be able to unfortunately compartmentalize everything that I was feeling and the grief and the survivor's guilt and everything going on in my head at that moment to be present for a client or clients over the course of a week. And then at the end of the week, I would set a timer for the 15 minutes to sit there and listen to Debbie Deb and Paula Abdul and all the old school songs I heard him listening to and look at pictures so that I could feel those emotions. And all the emotions that came with it, both the tears that are welling up now, that feeling in my chest of that loss, and even the joy of the good times that we did have, and being happy, being able to be happy through that. Because I think a lot of times when people grieve, they think, oh, I can't be happy. How can I be so happy? And how can I continue moving forward and living life being so happy? And there's that guilt of being happy. Joy and grief are intertwined, they're intertwined in our daily lives. So don't restrict one and don't restrict the other. It's okay to feel both. And then obviously, for me, obviously is distracting yourself with something healthy. For me, I turned to working out. I've never been a real gym buff, and luckily my husband's always had some kind of workout equipment at home. So I was able to kind of focus or distract myself and refocus on eating healthier and not drinking too much alcohol and not doing drugs and working out for my mental health. I have clients and friends who distract themselves by taking up new hobbies, revisiting hobbies that maybe they had in the past that they hadn't done in a while, coloring, crocheting, knitting, sewing. I also engross myself in getting my nails done. I don't have my nails done now thanks to an allergic reaction, but I typically have my nails done pretty nicely. So during that time, I had a great nail tech and I would go to her like clockwork. So just being able to distract yourself in a healthy way. Now, if you do find yourself going down that unhealthy rabbit hole of drugs, alcohol, the transition from being depressed due to grief to clinical depression, do reach out to someone, to anyone, and let them know that you need help. Redefining purpose. Redefining purpose is a big one. Lots of people, I think everyone has at least one person that you know that gets stuck in the lull of grief, in that sadness where joy does not come back, where the transition between grieving because of, or depression because of grief transitions into full-fledged clinical depression. So redefining purpose is super important. I encourage clients to reflect on what matters now. Embrace the small steps. Remember, small, steady, consistent steps will get you to your long-term goal. Set new intentions, whether that's new intentions every day, every week, every month, every 3 months, whatever your cadence is to setting new intentions, do it. And be open to evolving yourself and your purpose each day. Earlier, I had said I have an altar and I have like my brother's pictures there and other people who have passed away, people that I want to keep safe in my life that are still living. I have a cup of water there. I have my santos there. I have some sage, some money even. And in that, I set an intention every month. And sometimes I'll revisit my altar and I'll, pivot that intention. So it's okay to do that. And you don't need to have an altar like me. I'm just giving you examples. You can do whatever you want. It can be something where, like, you get up in the morning, you fix yourself a cup of coffee. We're going to pretend my water bottle is coffee, or tea, or whatever it is that you drink in the morning, and you set your intention for the day. This is what I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to embody this. For me, my intention when my brother died was that I'm going to be more mindful of the words that I use. Because even if I am angry or I'm whatever, I'm emotional, I have a sharp tongue and I have to be mindful of my words. And the second part of it was my brother was super outgoing and I wasn't always the way I am now. So I embody that of him, that confidence, that ability to speak up and advocate for people that might not have that voice to do so. Closing thoughts. Remember, healing is a journey, it is not a destination. I hope today's session gave you tools to navigate your path with more confidence and compassion. There's a little picture there. I hope my little voice box thing doesn't cover it. If you have any questions, feel free to email them to me. My email is drmonique at keyrosellc.com. And my IG handle is Key Rose LLC. So KEYROSELLC. Thanks so much for being here. Big hugs.